This story now. The environment is a big concern in today's world as economies, and the pandemics. Humans and their unsustainable consumption and production are threatening the planet. There's climate change, threats to biodiversity, and too much waste. To highlight the importance of preserving the environment today is World Environment Day. And to discuss that, Environmental Affairs Minister Barbara Creecy joins me. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Minister. And as we reflect on our environmental policies in South Africa, where would you say are some of the biggest areas of concern?
Well, first of all, good morning to you and greetings to all your listeners, and thank you for the opportunity. I think obviously the number one concern we have is climate change. Secondly, it's the loss of biodiversity. And thirdly, it must be environmental degradation and pollution. And obviously, from the perspective of government, we do have programs to address all of these areas. We are working hard to put in place our architecture to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to make all municipalities in our country more climate resilient. We're also doing a lot of work to support municipalities to implement air quality legislation and also to manage waste better. And of course, we have a protected areas expansion strategy. Currently, about 16.5% of our land and 14.5% of our territorial oceans are under protection. And we do have a plan to expand that by about 0.5% per annum until we reach roughly 28% protection in 2036.
You raised a very important point in terms of waste management in municipalities, Minister. And I wonder if it's not just the responsibility of municipal officials to make sure that they're implementing initiatives to make sure that waste is handled better, but the responsibility also falls on community members, not only to get educated about waste management, but to learn the benefits of things like recycling and how important that is for the environment, but also as contributing to dealing with the scourge of climate change.
Indeed, I think that government alone can only do so much, but each and every one of us is going to need to change our behaviour and our patterns of consumption. And I think, as you correctly say, consumers make choices. We are calling on consumers to make better choices, to choose products that are not packaged in plastic, to be more conscious about what they do with their waste and not just to chuck unwanted items into the environment. Of course, recycling and reuse are major, and in this regard, the private sector has a very important role to play through the expanded producer responsibility schemes. And of course, we know that we have almost 100,000 people who are involved in informal waste collection and what is known as waste picking in our country. It's incumbent on all of us to try and separate recyclables out of our waste, to clean them and to assist these recyclers to have a decent quality of living by taking recyclables to specified dumping areas and collection areas.
No, absolutely. Another big problem, Minister, are the issue of landfills. How bad is the situation right now? And are there any initiatives to handle the landfills that are across parts of the country?
Yes, indeed. I think this is a major area of concern. We have over 150 landfills in our country that are not compliant with regulation. And what this means is that waste is leaching into the environment and into the groundwater supply. We have a significant program to work with municipalities to ensure that their landfills become more compliant, and in certain instances, such as, for example, in the city of Mangaung this year, we are contributing 12.5 million rand to ensure that that landfill is more compliant. I think that going forward into the future, one of the discussions we've been having with our metros is that landfilling in conditions where land itself is becoming scarce is not necessarily the best option. We need to look at waste diversion, and I've already spoken about the issue of recycling, but we also have to start to look at initiatives such as waste to energy. These are initiatives that are being used in many of the developed countries to reduce landfilling.
Yes. What about collaborations, Minister? Are you collaborating with other departments? For example, the Department of Water and Sanitation, which was on our channel earlier, indicating that the vast amount of pollution is having a dire impact on the water quality, which means the available drinkable or usable water is decreasing or declining because of issues of that nature. So are there any meaningful collaborations that are being established here to make sure that these issues are being dealt with accordingly?
Well, one of the areas where I get constant complaints from the public is on the question of sanitation leaking into the freshwater systems. And as you correctly point out, in a water-scarce country, this is an extremely serious problem. I do regularly discuss this issue with Minister Mchunu, and he has indicated to me that there is a recognition that just as we have problems with municipalities providing their waste management functions, he has similar challenges with municipalities adequately managing their sanitation functions. And as a consequence, national government in many instances has to step in and help with this problem. So this is an area that we are very concerned about, and an area that we are working together with the department on.
Thank you very much for your time, Minister Creecy there, Barbara Creecy, joining us to talk about World Environment Day and some of the initiatives that are being taken by government and other stakeholders to curb the scourge of climate change and just to teach South Africans about environmental issues and the importance of different ways to deal or protect the environment. Still to